We found a very, very interesting scenario here, and there have been some tracks left on the earth which have provided us with some very interesting information. Over here is some fresh buffalo poop. Still quite wobbly. I'm guessing it's from kind of late last night or the early hours of this morning. And yesterday, some of you will remember that there was a young male leopard that was following a herd of buffalo, probably the very same herd of buffalo, about 2 miles in that direction. And it appears that this leopard has continued to follow them all the way to here. Absolutely remarkable. Take a look over here. You can see quite a clear paw print in the ground, right next to a puddle where a buffalo is urinated. I can actually tell that it was a male buffalo that urinated here due to the fact that the piddle has been extended all the way up ahead there, away from the main kind of blotch, because they kind of jiggle their penis forward while they are peeing, and that's what sprays the urine ahead like that. So it was a boy that had a piddle here, and also a boy leopard that was following them. I'm guessing these are the same tracks that we had not far from here on our eastern boundary of young Hosanna, who, like Steve said, was actually found this morning. And it sounds like he could continue to follow that herd of buffalo, because I heard, just like him, crossing north into our neighboring property called Torchwood, so have a herd of buffalo. So he may have his target set on some buffalo for his next meal. And it'll be absolutely awesome if he does manage to become a buffalo hunting expert, because it would make him a very hardcore leopard. Wonderful. Well, it seems like Taylor has got distracted again, and she now is looking at flowers.
Scotty, you can't help me though. It's the first time I've seen the flowers on the Sickle Bush for many, many months, and they are beautiful. But there's also a very pretty fly hovering around. There's a couple of them, and I wonder if they aren't feeding on the flowers too, perhaps also collecting some of that pollen. I don't really know what they're doing on there, but it's stunning either way. Now, even though guides do not like Sickle Bush very much because, well, they cause many punctures, which was the one that may have given me a puncture yesterday too as I reversed off the road. They're really, really good for the bush. So they are known also as a nitrogen-fixing legume. So they've got little nitrogen-fixing nodes on their roots. I've just spotted something, Davy. I'll tell you more about that in a minute. There is a grasshopper over there. Can you see it? Look how beautiful that is. Sorry, I just saw the striking white colors. And the reason why I say that they're good to have around here is because, unfortunately, we do get a lot of erosion in the Sabi sand, and there's a lot of sodic sites, and unfortunately they struggle to overcome on their own. So having things like acacias and as well as sickle bushes in the area will help actually restore the soil again. But that's very cool. And lots of things like to eat it, not just the leaves, but also right down to the pods that they produce too. That is stunning. Look, there's another one of these little... This must be a nymph. See, there's another one here. They're so, so, so pretty. I don't know if you want to come up, have a look. Maybe it'll be relaxed. Now, Lara Moore, you've said that they look like, the flowers look like mini party decorations. They do. They're so pretty. I can't tell you how striking they really, really are. So I wonder what... over here. Oh, there we go. No. Oh, just dropped right down. Hang on, let's see if we can find another one. I'm sure there's some more on this tree. There seems to be a whole lot of life lurking on the sickle bush. No, that's a leaf. Oh my goodness, David. These are moths. These look like moths that are mating. But it actually looks like a leaf. Do you see that? That is incredible. I'm going to try and sneak around so I can have a look on the camera as well as David zooms in without bumping him. Now that just looks like an old leaf on another leaf. But there are two. You can see that their backsides are facing one another. I don't know what little moths they are. I know you get little emerald moths that are green in color, but I don't know if they are the emeralds. It might be something else, but that's amazing. I really thought that that was just a crispy leaf. So how great is that camouflage? So it's amazing what you can find on a tree. Let's see, I can see some silk of some sort. Let me see if I can find what has left it. You gotta get your eyes focused though. It's hard trying to spot some of these smaller things. Let me go around and see if there's anything else that we can see on this beautiful tree. Wow, I really forgot how stunning the flowers were. And of course, watch, I'm going to end up putting my face right up to a spider or something. That's probably what's going to happen. No. All our little grasshopper nymphs have all disappeared now too. I think we scared them away. Well, that's okay. We are still looking for a leopard. Can you believe it? We are zigzagging through the long grass, trying to sort of eliminate areas so that if we don't find it this afternoon, we can check some other spots. If we don't find things this morning, we can check some other spots this afternoon, is what I meant to say. Right, so we're going to find Herbie. He's just around the corner, and carry on with our search. Let's go to Steve, who's got one of the prettier birds that almost looks like this flower.
Thank you very much, Taylor. Good luck there. Well, I've been looking forward to seeing Herbie myself. I love his smile. We have found ourselves probably the prettiest bird in the Lowveld and the most photographed bird definitely in the Kruger National Park. This bird always has such gorgeous coloration to him. And I always those of you probably know it's a Lilacbreasted Roller, the national bird of Botswana. And it is a beautiful bird. I always think it looks like a child has been given a black and white bird to draw, and he's taken the most ridiculous colors and put them together to color out this bird. And this is the typical behavior. That's why it's quite easy to wait for them, because they generally will sit quite conspicuously on a dead branch, surveying their area. They are a sit and wait specialist. They'll just see any insect flop on the ground and they'll dive down and grab it. And very similar to their European counterpart, often taking the harder sort of insects like crickets or grasshoppers or beetles back to the perch, where they pulverize it against the branch before swallowing to break up that exoskeleton. But so I wanted to try something because it's nice to see them display. And if I play his call, because as I've spoken before, they are very pretty birds. The call sounds like a chimpanzee. So I'm going to play it, and Seb's going to zoom out a little. We're going to see if he's going to respond, and then show you why they are called rollers. So let's just have a listen. Come and landed on the ground behind and doing the sit and wait. Let's see what he's caught himself an insect. And let's see if he's going to do what I said. There we go. He wasn't too perturbed by the call. They are fiercely territorial, rollers, but as I expected, it's not the peak of the breeding season for them. So when the breeding happens, they are fiercely territorial of their nest site, which would be in a tree cavity made by a woodpecker or a barbet, any natural cavity as well. And the peak of their laying is normally between sort of September and December, but anywhere from August to February. I haven't seen them displaying of late, so I don't think he was too perturbed by me there, but he caught himself a beetle. He's moving it around in that very he's going to smash it. Kirst wants to know, Kirst from FC wants to know how he's going to fit it in his mouth, and he's gone down onto a smaller branch. Can you see him, Seb? I might have to just go back a meter, and he will smash that carapace into a whole lot of pieces, and then the juice of, there we go, Seb, just down on the left there, that small branch on the floor, there he goes, off he goes. Okay, well, he wasn't too interested in showing us how to eat his food, But he would have pounded that again and again and again on the branch until that carapace broke up and then swallow it whole. Birds don't have teeth like we do, and I've never known of a roller to behave like a shrike where they'll impale it and rip it apart. They smash it, very similar to bee eaters, and then swallow it just like that. And if it doesn't smash it up, then it's very difficult for the body, to break down that exoskeleton of the insect. I didn't see what it was, but it looked like as possibly a tenebrinoid or tuk-tuki style beetle. But then again, I didn't get a very close look at it. But ladies and gentlemen, you just saw a kill. We're going to go on from our kill and try lower the excitement levels, because that was very, very cool. And we're going to go to Scott, who I believe is doing something exactly like myself, and he's just driving.
Yes, still just driving around, but we have a new plan, so that's the good news, and I'm very happy that you guys got to see some action with Steve and the roller. Now, because Hosanna's tracks have crossed out, and we know that he's further east of even those tracks, and because Taylor and Herbie are taking such a long time to find Tandy and her cub, I'm thinking of moving into another area, and it may be overlapping with where Steve's working. I haven't checked in with him so far, but we've basically checked the majority of Djuma, as far as I'm aware, except for the kind of northwestern corner. And even if Steve has checked there, I'm happy to go and recheck there. The reason being is that it's an area where a female leopard called Shidulu hangs out, as well as a big male called the Hukumuri male. And their tracks were actually together. Yesterday morning, right at the end of bushwalk, we found their tracks together quite close to our western boundary, and they could well have been mating. She's a young female, and it could have been her first throes of passion with a boy. And that means good things, because in 3 months' time, if all went well, we'll have some more baby leopard childs to enjoy spending time with. So yeah, that's my plan. Head up to the northwestern corner, see what's happening. Another leopard that we could possibly bump into there is a young male who's flying below the radar. He is an exquisite specimen. His name is Tamba, just over 2 years of age, and he seems to have been kind of lurking in that spot. We've been finding him in that northwestern corner quite a lot over the last few weeks. And you tend to find when a young male leopard finds at that age finds a spot where they're comfortable, they like to really kind of camp out in an abnormally small area, which makes our life finding them a lot easier. It reminds me of when the flies are quite numerous. I can hear some birds alarm calling here. Let's go and have a quick squiz as to what's going on. It could just be starlings having a dispute with one another. What's going on here? Or is it rattling sticklers? There's a few birds that are squawking here. Sometimes birds will also fight over food, so maybe that's what's going on. There they are. Quite a few red-billed buffalo weavers. Magpie shrikes. This is looking promising. Maybe there's a snake in the grass. If not that, maybe a slender mongoose. Let's just stop for a second. You can see all the birds ahead of us here. What is it that has got them worked up? It's always so difficult to know what predator it is that they've seen, especially in this very long grass. It would be hugely difficult to see a snake and even a slender mongoose. This is a magpie shrike we're looking at here. And what we can do is we can rely on the birds to possibly follow whatever predator it is that's moving there. And it looks like they've all gone and landed up over there now, which indicates to me that whatever this predator is, it's moving quite quickly, and probably quicker than a serpent would move. So I would guess maybe it is in fact a slender mongoose that's been scurrying off through the undergrowth. Very good. I forgot, what was I saying before I got distracted by these alarm calls? I was discussing Tamba and Shidulu. I can't remember exactly what I was saying about them though. What I was saying about is how Tamba hangs out, could in theory hang out in a small area. Just like when I arrived here at Safari Live 3 years ago, there was 2 young males, one called Quarantine and one called Kunyuma. They were brothers, and they used to hang out in very, very small spots when they were a very similar age as Tamba, which made our lives wonderful. We spent by far more time with those 2 brothers than we did with their mother, Karula. Happy memories of those guys. I think it was Kunyuma that liked Treehouse Dam, and Quarantine that liked Quarantine as well as Twin Dams, excuse me. But I mean, their kind of favorite spot would vary over the weeks where they kind of hang out. There's a huge amount of flies around today. I'm not sure if it's due to the herd of buffalo that moved through this area yesterday, or if it's just an increased number of flies for other reasons. They're all buzzing about, giving us a bit of a hard time here. I just saw Senzo's hand go like that as I said that. We're thinking of actually opening up a few new positions here. We would like to have an extra person on the vehicle fanning both Senzo and myself with a palm frond to keep the flies away. So if any of you would like to apply for that position, you can send your CVs through to the Big Easy Mkhizi at wewannagetridoftheflies.com. All right. So I'm not sure who I'm sending you off to. I'm losing focus and not concentrating and listening to what Kirsty is telling me, but you are going somewhere.
Well, thank goodness he didn't realize that it was me again. Otherwise, he'd be changing those palm leaves to trying to hire people who can beat us with thorn trees instead, because I've got distracted once again. But for good reason. Probably something none of you have seen for quite some time. Look, poo! Very exciting. All of you are better jumping for joy now, because I know how much you love dung, so I'm going to grab a stick. But it comes from a very special animal. And I think we're going to play a game very quickly. Can you guess who has done this little mess on the ground here? I suppose it's not a mess on the ground. We're out in nature. Hashtag Safari Live. Let us know what you think. Which animal has left this behind? But what I'll do is I'll even break one open for you so you can have a look at what they've eaten. But get your guesses in. I don't know if anyone's going to get this, in fact. Oh no, Herbie was already laughing at me because I touched it with my hands, and then he had to go away because he was laughing so hard. I said we were going to go live. But I'm going to use my chopsticks now. Shall I bring it up to you, Darby? Ah! Dropped. Look at all those wonderful things in there. Looks like some grasses. That's sand. Oh, man, my friend Manu. Man, I miss you, Manu. Manu, of course, most of you know he also works for Wild Earth. Oh, not our Manu. Oh, miss Manu anyways. I thought he was giving the first guess here. Anyways, I miss you too, Manu, that I don't know. Thank you for being the first one to guess as to what dung you think this is. You've said porcupine straight off the bat. I'm going home. You're all too clever for me. I thought that this was going to take a few more guesses, so you're quite right. But let's have a little look here. So we should be able to find roots and bits of grass. I don't know what else is growing on here. Not growing on there. What is this? What's that white stuff? I don't know what that is. It looks like a sprout. I don't know if it is a sprout. Maybe it's corn. I don't know what that is. But these little white things that I'm trying to have a closer look at, they seem to be in quite a few pieces of the dung, in fact. Quite a few of them. So I don't really know what that is. It's definitely I don't know. I think I'm just digging a hole here. So there we go, some porcupine dung that was done this morning. It's actually quite fresh, probably in the early hours of the morning. It's a pity that it's not a nice sandy patch over here. Otherwise, we could have a look at some really cool tracks. I don't know when I last saw a porcupine track either. And then in my hand, I've been collecting some scrub hair dung. Reason why is I'm going to stand up now just to have a look, because it's always good that we keep checking the wind. You can see, very light, sort of blowing towards the north and then back around to the east again. So the wind is swirling just slightly. Do another one just to test. There's no wind. Now it's just falling straight to the ground. Nothing. Ooh! Little owl, you said, now that we've seen the dung, can we find a porcupine quill? No, but I can see a yellow pansy. It is a butterfly. Can you see it just on the ground? That's quite pretty. That's the butterfly, I think I know. I think I identified it correctly. We will try and find a porcupine quill for you, though. Who knows? We might be able to. Herbie, probably knowing Herbie, he's probably found one and spotted one already, but that's very pretty, don't you think? A day of butterflies. I'm looking forward to this afternoon. Hopefully we'll be able to continue the butterflies through to the afternoon safari. I'll be back on the vehicle, but I will bring my butterfly book out and then, well, I'll refresh my memory. But before Steve's favourite bird flies away, let's go take a look.
Yes, indeed. Thank you. One of my favourite birds, Taylor. Thank you. We have got ourselves an African hoopoe. Oh, here it goes. Just in time. It's going to land on the road, as is their wont. Let me just move up a bit. They love to forage on the ground. Oh, and we've got some white-crested helmet shrikes just in front of this as well. Let me see if we can get both of these in the shot, Seb. Got the white-crested helmet shrikes here. We'll try to get them first because they move at an alarming rate. There we go, just down a bit, Seb. There we go. Ah, there's a few of them there in the tree. Up, if you go up another meter. There we go. This is probably one of my favorite birds. I always find it hard to say. Down at the bottom, here we got one there. They're in a group. These are cooperative breeders. That beautiful yellow wattle around the eye, if they would just sit still for a moment. They are practicing a behavior. One right on the floor, there we go. They are practicing a behavior called gleaning, where they are running through the tree and picking off any insects such as caterpillars and beetles that might be attached to the undersides of the leaves. And it's a very efficient way. And we have just been joined by another bird there. Just to the left of it. There we go. Up a bit, Seb. Right. There we go. There is a common scimitar. Looks very similar to the green wood hoopoe. It's just got a black beak, and it's a little bit more recurved. You don't find them in groups. The green wood hoopoe, like the white crested helmet shrike, are cooperative breeders, where the scimitar is a monogamous breeder. And he's also jumping around with that specialized probing beak, yet he is practicing the same behavior as the helmet shrikes, called gleaning. And you saw he joined them there. The helmet shrikes sweep through the tree. The scimitar was following them because, like packs of dolphins, or before you follow him, top of the small bush as well, there's another small bird busy gleaning there. Just up a little bit right. There we go, straight in there, top of the screen. A little bit. Go. Okay. There we've got a. Yes, that's a Penduline tit, ladies and gentlemen. I was talking about their nest just the other day. Isn't that marvelous? Oh, very easy looked, as they are one of the smallest birds that you'll find here. There's a second one.
Alrighty, everybody. Sorry that you so hastily got taken away from our friend Steve. clearly his signal was a little bit low. But you've come at a good time. We are just getting into the area where I feel we may find or start finding any sign, if we are lucky, of the Shidulu female leopard and or Hukumuri and or ideally the both of them making love right here in this road in front of us. That would be nice. I haven't seen leopards mating for quite some time, and it's one of the most wonderful things to be able to share with you guys. Coda, you would like to know if leopards have a mating or breeding season. And no, they don't. Most predators actually don't. Wild dog are unique though. They will usually den in around March, or is it May, here in South Africa. But it does vary. But with lion, leopard and cheetah, the big cats of Africa, they will mate at any time of the year. If we take Tundi, for example, she very recently gave birth to her young cub about 4 months ago, and if she was to lose her cub, which sadly is a reality with this new male pushing in on the scene, he could kill her. If that was to happen, within the next few weeks, she could come into season that quickly and mate again 3 months later. Hukumuri's kids will be who we are looking at. So, and the same goes for a lot of the big cats. As soon as they lose cubs, they can come into season very, very quickly and try again. So no season. And it's quite nice that way, because it means at any time of the year you could have big cats mating. But like I said, I can't remember when last I actually saw leopards mating. It was quite some time ago though. It really is something very, very cool to see. If you've never seen it before, you've got something to look forward to. It's quite an aggressive affair, especially if they've just started mating. Well, Jeanette, you have obviously watched leopards mating before, because you do not disagree with my terminology saying them making love, because it's not quite that. No, it's not. It's quite feisty, and I don't think making love is the appropriate way of describing it. You're correct. You're correct, which is a combination of correct and right. We're designing new words here as we go. If any of you have any contacts with the Oxford Dictionary, please put forward our proposal. You could also put forward jerkalurker, which is actually a noun to describe something that is lurking around an area, and by jerkalurkering it's kind of like in and out, backwards, forwards, waiting for its time to do something naughty. So an animal that would jerkalurk would be a hyena, jerkalurkering around a kill, waiting for a gap to steal something. And on top of the jerker kind of motion, the motion behind the jerkalurker, there's also the word jerk in it, which indicates that the animal is not being very nice. Good. You see, and now we are going to send you across to the jerkalurker S, Taylor, who's mischievously jerkalurkering around Tundi and her cub. I don't think they found them yet.
Stand by. We have some technical difficulties. Darby's stuck. The cable got all caught round, and he was trying to desperately bring the camera around, but it just wasn't going. Scott, what did you call me? You're crazy. Right. I don't know about Scott sometimes. He makes me worried. Some Aramark babblers all shouting at the moment. So we've moved on, still looking for that porcupine quill, which I have not found, and we haven't had any luck with any leopards just yet either. No tracks, absolutely no nothing, which is a bit sad. It makes me a little bit sad, but it's okay, because we can just try this afternoon again. I think Scott's on walk this afternoon, in fact, so what we might do is try the original plan and actually take Herbie, Scott, and I think Miss Sen's on camera with him. Must be. Probably. Well, we'll take the 3 of them and then drop them back in this area, and then we'll just basically jerk a lurk around, waiting for them to find the leopard, because I don't know if we're going to be finding any leopards today, but you never know. Thandi could be out on a morning stroll. Remember when we found her the other day with Hosanna? She was walking around quite late into the morning. So she could have maybe caught something quite small, eaten it, and now she's gone to look for something else. But we just haven't got a clue where she could be. We could have walked past her, like Scott rightfully said. We could have just been standing next to a bush where she was just waiting and sitting quietly, which sometimes leopards do as well. It's a bit scary. I prefer it when they make a noise so I know where they are rather than just trying to hide away. My goodness. Oh, we gotta jump over that one, Darby. Come on. Don't know why to encourage him like a horse. Funny noise. You know what I would like to do, though, is I would absolutely love to come riding through it. Can you imagine with all these fallen tree stumps? It would be a great cross-country little event. I think any of my horses, though, would have had an absolute heart attack and spooked at everything that they saw. So, maybe my warm blood would have been fine. He was quite docile and used to just jump over everything I used to push him over. So, that could have worked quite nicely. We were actually talking about horse riding through the bush last night. Funny enough. Now I want to ride horses today. Okay, well, we're going through this long grass again. This is fun. Let's see what we've got here. I'm looking out for even some butterflies, but it's a little bit difficult. Oh, spider hunting wasp, come back. Not coming back. It sort of buzzed past and then flew off. Let's keep going. Keep looking. Keep searching. And we've also got to watch where we put our feet, because it is a nice warm day, and there could be lots of snakes out. And Alyssa, you were just wondering, what is the biggest threat to us out on bushwalk? Well, it's the things we can't see. So my concern, obviously, on a bushwalk is always watching where you put your feet, but also trying to keep your eyes above the grass so you can see the bigger animals in the distance. But snakes, and on a warm day like today, they will be moving around. We have just had a flash of rain, so there's a lot of rodents about, which most of the snakes are feeding on. Lots of frogs as well, again. Snakes are eating them too. So you want to make sure you don't stand on any of those. So like when we go through these sections here, I know that the mice and rats like to make their nests out of grass. This would ideally be a hot spot for something like a puff adder, or lots of different types of snakes. And puff adders, unfortunately, don't often move. They use their camouflage to try and conceal themselves, and then they often freeze, of course, so they sit very still. It makes it difficult to spot them on the ground. And that's when you can get bitten, is when you just step straight onto the top of one. But I don't know if I've told you the story about what I did to Bossy Donna, who's my mother, on holiday. She's petrified of snakes, and I think I've told you a couple of stories. And while we were walking through a similar area like this, she said she starts panicking, because she can be a little bit of a drama queen sometimes. And she goes, "Oh, Taylor," in her Australian accent, which I'm not going to do. She says, "How do I keep the snakes away? Well, I'm worried about standing on a snake." So I was like, "Well, just watch where you put your feet." She goes, "Is there nothing else you can do?" So, of course, being a terrible child, I went, "Yeah, you can clap your hands." So there's my mother. Walking around, clapping to try and get the snakes away. That does absolutely nothing. You've got a better chance of walking a little bit heavier footed, stamping the ground to get a snake away, to move away from you. But this continued for a little while, where we captured many videos of her trying to chase the snakes away by clapping. So don't do that. It doesn't work. But also don't tell my mum, because we just want to see how long we can keep it going. I think I've told you this before, but my brothers and I and my dad like to prank my mom all the time. So we don't fall for it anymore, because my dad has just tortured us as kids with teasing us and pranking us, so we don't listen to anything that he has to say anymore. But my poor mother, after 30-odd years of being married to my dad, still has not learned and has not realized that the kids do exactly the same thing. So, right, so that's happening. I think we're back on Central now, so we're going to be heading down in that direction. I'd like to walk in a drainage line again where it's nice and cool, but the sun has also broken through the clouds. Yay. Let's go across to the main joker lurker of the Sabi Sand.
So everyone, Senzo's just shouted that we are live, because I am not plugged in with my earpiece anymore, and I'm going to come out of the closet. I'm in love with these foam nest frogs, having a love affair with amphibians. And I find every time I get to one of these little puddles, I want to search for them. Now, from where you are, you won't be able to see any of the foamy nests that are dangling down over this little puddle behind me. But they were made by these frogs, and the frogs must be here somewhere, but they're incredibly well camouflaged, and I can't seem to work out where they are hiding. But I guess every now and then we do get lucky and spot one, and they're super, super cool. It's not only the frogs that I'm in love with, that I was looking for, but also any signs of leopard drinking around these puddles. And there's some old tracks of probably the Shadulu female. You might be able to see this one over here. No, the bonnet's in the way. Anyway, they're very old, which means not very exciting. But it's good to know that she has taken a few drinks there. So has the Hukumuri male, actually. I've seen his tracks here before. I actually made a massive error. His tracks, I was about 100 meters down the road in that direction, and I had his tracks walking all the way to here and then all the way back, which indicates that he was going to quench his thirst and then heading back in the exact opposite or same direction from where he had come from, which indicates that it is a thirsty leopard with a kill. But I didn't think like that, which was a blooper, because it was only the following day that he was found with the remains of a warthog kill, so we could have actually spent more time with him had I been thinking clearly. I should have just backtracked away from the water and we would have found him and his kill. But you live and learn. Child of the universe, you would like to know if there's any naturally occurring springs in the area. Negative. Not that I'm aware of. You may get a few areas where there's a kind of bit of a seepage that comes through, but I think because this area is not mountainous enough, it's not going to be prone to having any springs. I think springs are something that you kind of need a few mountains nearby where the water may be flowing underneath the surface of the earth and then popping out at a lower point. But I'm no spring expert. So I found his tracks, just to give you an idea, because you've been with us since the water, or those little wallows. I found the tracks here, up and down, and he was found the following day, not far away over there, with his kill. It was a good learning curve for me. Okay, well, Steve has found a hole in a tree.
Yes, we have indeed found a hole in a tree, and the tree itself we'll get to. It is a marula tree, but with this dead branch off the side, that kind of hole that's been excavated there would have been created by birds such as the woodpeckers or barbets. And the reason for stopping is because this is the kind of hole that a bird like the Lilacbreasted Roller would nest in, something that's already created. They don't have the ability to excavate themselves, so they use something that is already there. And this tree would serve the purpose of quite a few species through its life. And what's interesting from an ecological point of view, we talk about habitat, and there are two important terms that need to be brought up when talking about habitat. And there is something known as the fundamental niche, which basically means the entire area in which an animal can survive. But then with competition, we get what we call the realized niche. And the realized niche is the actual area within a landscape that an animal occupies for breeding with competition. Because as we know out here, everything is competing with everything. A lot of birds are competing with each other. A lot of mammals are competing with each other. Take away the competition, and the area within which those animals can live would be a little bit bigger. But because you have barbets, woodpeckers, rollers, when the broad-billed rollers, I haven't seen one in the Sabi Sands, but when they come to South Africa, they compete heavily with the Lilacbreasted Roller for breeding. So that will influence the breeding sites of the Lilacbreasted Roller because of one other bird doing something very similar. And you'll also have starlings, woodpeckers, as I said, barbets, all nesting in very similar holes. So those holes are there, created in time by a dead branch. How it was created or how it died is unknown. The tree is still alive, but yet we have the fundamental and realized niche discussion, which is always interesting to talk about how the animal fits in to the landscape. Before, I'm not sure how long you were with me for, but we had a beautiful bird. Let's see which one it was. Is it the Penduline tit? I wonder if any of you saw this beautiful little bird, the grey Penduline tit. It is probably one of the smallest birds you'll find in the area, only 6.5 grams, 8 to 9 centimeters, and they make the most remarkable nests. Let me just get it for you, sorry. If I just pan across, I'll show you this wonderful nest that they produce. And that is produced with silk and wild cotton. And these birds are unique in the fact that they produce a false nest, while the grey and the Cape Penduline tit, they produce a false cavity or false hole in which the brood parasites or predators themselves would actually go into, but the cavity itself is fake. They've actually got another cavity with a hidden entrance underneath that. So very unique in that behavior. For such a small little bird, it's quite a remarkable nest. But wasn't that a marvelous bird party we had there? Common scimitar, which would also actually use a nest like this in a tree, a cavity. What was the word? White-crested helmet shrikes, the Penduline tits, all moving through the same tree, feeding as dolphins would feed, flushing out the insects as they go, so benefiting from each other's behavior by marching through a tree like that. Any insects that are camouflaged, we know insects are extremely camouflaged against the branches, so as the birds move through, insects that are flushed away get taken up by other birds. You'll often have birds such as the fork-tailed drongo following a feeding party like that, waiting for any insect that flies out on the side. So very good sort of commensalistic / mutualistic behavior. Jacqueline would like to know the depth of a woodpecker's nest. Now, I'm not 100% sure on how deep, but I'm sure I can quickly find out for you. Let me quickly have a look. Texting while driving, apparently not allowed, but here we go. I'll get the bearded woodpecker, have a quick look at their bird page. Got some cloud building up in the distance while I just try and find. And what are the chances you hear the bearded woodpecker as I touch on the scroll? I'll play it for you quickly. Listen to this. I don't know if you heard that. That's a territorial call of the bearded woodpecker. And we actually just heard that off to the side. So let me quickly just have a look at the nest, if they've got any. Okay, nest, eggs. Hole can be excavated up to 3 to 5 meters off the ground and can be 300 to 500 millimeters deep. About 77 to 55 millimeters in diameter, so half a meter deep, which is quite far into the tree, and that obviously allows them to facilitate a little bit more safety. And a lot of the birds you find with nests in trees, the eggs will be very, very, very white, so that when the adults come in, they don't squash them and they don't break them, and enables them to see them when they sit on to incubate. So marvelous. That is something that I should have known before, but the bearded woodpecker heard us calling his name and gave us a wonderful shout in the distance there. So that is for the bearded woodpecker. I'm sure the others are probably a little bit similar, but half a meter into a tree, it's quite a phenomenal feat to have done that with your head smashing against the bark. Okay, so we're going to go back over to Taylor McCurdy, who is still on foot, and I think she might have some updates for you.
Sadly not on the leopard, but we've got something cool, a piece of mud on a blade of grass. So Something that had a wallow must have walked past here. Could have been an elephant, it could have been a buffalo, it could have even been a rhino. I don't think anything smaller than any of those creatures, just because it looks like it's actually dripped down. And probably an elephant, because I reckon an elephant could walk over here and its belly wouldn't even touch the ground. Now, Swasna, you were wondering if we ever get anything like scorpions or spiders crawling into our shoes at night. Yes, most certainly. And the most recent one was actually a olive bark scorpion that had crawled into Louise, who is one of the directors, into her exercise mat. So obviously we do a lot of yoga. I don't do yoga. Some of the girls do yoga. And of course we've got these big foam mats that we'll do our workouts on. And as Louise went, because, you know, we roll things out in style, there was a scorpion. So luckily she rolled it and she shook it first. Otherwise, they'll give you a nasty sting and you'd probably have a horrible headache. Now, with the shoes, it's always important, especially if you've left your shoes outside at night. If you leave them inside your room and you typically keep your door closed during the day, you're probably going to be okay and not have anything venturing in there. But if you leave them outside, always good to give them a bit of a bang first. I mean, you're not just going to find scorpions and spiders. You might even find a big old frog down in your shoe too. So it's always good to just be careful. And it's actually one of my fears, in fact, is to put my foot, and I've done it once with, when was it? Must have been in the Eastern Cape. I had not these shoes, because in the Eastern Cape no one really wears the bush fellies that we wear up here. There's a lot of thorns and things down there, and the bush is thick, so we typically wear boots like David's got on. In fact, maybe you can show them your boot. So thick leather boots. And as I put my foot in it, I felt something squidgy, and I went, I couldn't even put my foot in properly. I thought, oh, that's not supposed to be there. That's not a sock, you know, that I'd forgotten to put in the laundry basket. And it was a big raucous toad that was sitting in my boot. So that was a fun surprise. Sometimes you find frogs in your room, under your bed, making all sorts of noises. When I was in the Eastern Cape, again, the guide rooms they were thatched. So can you imagine all the things that used to fall out? You'd literally just be fast asleep in your tent, or not in your tent, in your room. Next minute you'd hear, and you'd suddenly wake up, because you learned to wake up when you heard that noise. Torch out or lights on. And then you start looking on your bed, what has fallen from the ceiling? Normally it was either a solifuge, a lizard. Sometimes the scorpion was just a little bit terrifying. And we have massive rain spiders down in the Eastern Cape too. So they'd find their way on your bed as well. I didn't like that. I didn't like those rooms at all. And that was the only thing that I think I didn't like about the Eastern Cape, was living with thatch, especially because I've got horrible allergies. So you can imagine my eyes would swell up, I'd be sneezing. But Herbie's just come back and he even said to me today, he says, Taylor, I need an antihistamine. He's also been sneezing all morning. So we're being plagued at the moment, but it's a lot of fun. We might have to find some of that elephant ears, uses toilet paper. Perhaps we could blow our noses that way. Let's go see if Scott has found any creepy crawlies in his shoes with the years that he's been guiding.
Creepy crawlies have been found in my boots. Maybe it's because they smell too much. Who knows? But lucky so far. It's one of those things that everyone tells you must always check your boots in the morning. Make sure you give them a kind of knock. Make sure there's no scorpions, raucous toads, snakes, spiders, mice. What else could have climbed in there? A number of things, I guess. But no, I've been fortunate with that. Now, I forgot to mention on the last kind of segment where you joined us that we passed a blue waxbill's nest that I found yesterday morning on bushwalk, and I couldn't resist yesterday morning probing my fingers into the little entrance into the nest to see if there was anything inside there. And alas, there was something inside there yesterday morning. There was 3 cold eggs, and I thought, well, maybe the nest has been abandoned, who knows, you know, maybe just the parents are away feeding. It turns out that the parents were just away feeding, because when we went past this morning, I tried to do the very same thing, and this little blue waxbill flew out of the nest, and all of the eggs are still in there. So that's some exciting news. There's a family of blue waxbills being raised on Ballinites Road, and I'm going to keep a close eye on them, and I'm going to try and get a hold of VM, one of our cameramen. He had a very cool camera, I think it's called an endoscope, something that you can kind of, a tiny little camera on the end of a little pole, and we can try and keep a close tabs on that family of chicks. Imagine how cool it'll be if we go back there every day. Eventually they will hatch, if all things go well, and then we'll be able to see them grow and monitor their development just by poking in this little probe. So that's something exciting to look forward to, but we just need to try and get that camera, which will be very, very cool. Vegas beauty snob, you probably planning a trip out here and don't like bugs and would like to know when are the least bugs around here at Djuma. In the middle of winter, which would be July, I think, is the middle of winter. So yeah, there's by far more bugs in summer when there's lots of flowers, lots of rain, lots of things to feed on, and far less in the winter months where it's dry, there's not much food around, not many flowers. So yeah, we've been really lucky this summer though, because there's not nearly as many spiders around at the moment. There would normally be hundreds of them, namely the golden orbweb spider, who build very, very large nests. And as the name of the spider suggests, they have a golden colored silk, very strong actually, and quite unpleasant to get your face wrapped in that stuff. But beautiful big spiders, the golden orbweb spider, but not much around due to the dry conditions. So we've been traveling along our western boundary, sign of either Hukumuri male or the Shidulu female. No joy though. But we're going to continue our search, and our signal's getting a bit shaky here, so we're going to send you back to Steve.
Thank you, Scotty. Yes, it is one of those mornings, ladies and gentlemen, where the tracks of these animals are just not providing us with any animals. What have we got there, Seb? There's a large bird in the sky. It's about to fly over our heads. Yes, indeed it is. Too much, eh? Catch him on the other side. It's just gone over the top of us. As the heat of the sun warms the ground, the thermals slowly start to pick up. And you see these small raptors moving in the sky. And indeed, Seb, you have correctly identified it. Seb says it is a batelier, and the way to distinguish it is by the pointiness of the wings and the fact that it is moving through the sky almost like a tightrope walker moves along a rope holding a long pole. But that is a juvenile, and when I say juvenile, I mean less than 7 years of age, because it takes 7 years for the batelier to get its breeding plumage. And that's why there was quite a visible tail on this individual. And as they get older, their tail becomes very, very short. It's not that it is not there, it's just very short. And they are the best flyers. They require almost no thermals or air currents to fly, just bobbing left and right in their never-ending search, should I say, for some leftover carrion. Shamungwe in the local dialect, and they are generally the first. Sorry about the telephone wire there. We are connected in the bush. There he has the little flap. They are the best at finding carcasses and prey animals, and the first ones to locate them. The vultures will follow batelier, because batelier can fly early in the morning when the currents are still very, very weak. He has a little flap, and the vultures, once they spot the batelier landing, they have some thermal currents and they'll be able to move in to the scene of the crime. And I have no doubt that that batelier had come from the scene of the crime further to our eastern side here, where the Unkuhumas had smashed an impala last night, and I'm sure the batelier came off empty-handed. So we are going to go over to Taylor, and let's go there quickly, because what she has is probably going to run away.
I know, these tortoises are so quick, I tell you. But this one doesn't seem to like the camera very much. It's okay when we don't put the camera near it, and then, I don't know, maybe it's shy. Maybe it's not meant for TV. I don't know what's wrong with this little speak-send tortoise. It was gobbling up some flowers, though. That was quite nice, so we know that it is eating and having breakfast, which is what we'll all be doing soon as well. Nice hot day, so that's quite exciting. Once we see this tortoises moving around, there is hope for us to see snakes and perhaps some agamas sitting up on a tree. So we'll be checking the marulas today, and then maybe some of the knobthorns this afternoon to see if we can find some reptiles. I think that's what I'll do for my drive this afternoon, is look for butterflies. I'll bring a butterfly book out so we can try and identify them, and we'll also look for some smaller reptiles. I'd like to see a leopard tortoise again. I've missed them. I enjoy seeing the leopard tortoises. I think it's just now freezing and pretending that it can't be seen. Does it look terrified, David? A little bit. And that's me swatting the flies on my legs that are trying to bite me. Come on, little tortoise. Show us how fast you can go. They actually move really, really quickly. And this is not Gregory. Also, this is not Gregory. Not as brave as the one we had the other morning that kept coming towards me. It was after, I suspect, the shade of my car, or perhaps just trying to hide underneath it. There we go. You're very precious. And on a hot day like today, we might find a couple of the reptiles, like the tortoises, also going to some of those mud wallows and having a drink, just filling their bladders up again. Right, we'll carry on. We also had a bet this morning, and we were trying to figure out how long we've got till we get back to camp, so in terms of kilometers. So I'm going to pull my phone out because I have an app that should tell us. When we were, I can't remember where we were, 5.3. So it was 5.3 when we last checked. We haven't actually gone far at all. And then Herbie said it should take us exactly 1 kilometer from where we were to get to the dam. We're now on 5.7 kilometers, and we must be only about 300 or 400 meters from the dam. So once we get to the dam wall, we'll hopefully see. I think Herbie might be right, though. He was pretty spot on with that. Scott's basically said that I'm not allowed to come home until I've found a leopard, and he will not bring me any breakfast either. Okay, that's fine. At least we've got Herbie, and we'll get some berries, maybe. I'm actually full, from that guarri berry I had earlier. I couldn't dare stomach another thing. What else can we eat out here? Oh, no, don't do that to me, Scott. That means I'm going to have to eat the buffalo thorn leaves, which I really don't like. What else? What else are we going to eat? Grass? I don't know. There's not much fruit around. I have to eat a lot of marulas, but that won't be too good for me at all. That will not be very good. David and I have learnt the hard way before when we've eaten way too many marulas. And they're a bit sour, too, because I haven't got any that are ripening. Anyways, Scott, don't take my food away from me. And don't take it away from David either. You don't want to see him hangry. And speaking of Scott, let's go see where he is. Let's see if he can guess what we're having for breakfast this morning.
Well, I'm not too sure. I mean, Senzo thinks it might be omelets. Actually, I spoke about an hour ago. I think it could be a continental breakfast, sliced fruit, cold meats and muffins. I would prefer if Senzo was correct, though. I know Jared, one of our technical wizards, loves a mushroom omelette, so he'll be rooting for that. And of course, I'm only kidding. I would never hide food away from Taylor. No, it is going to be a little bit tricky. The sun's a little bit high already to show tracks. But in this area that we are in here, I'm not even going to bother to try and show the tracks also because they're quite old. But this is where we had some tracks of both Hukumuri and Shidulu female, a male and female leopard. Moving yesterday morning was when I had the tracks, but I think Rexon had seen them the day before that. So they were here, but just not with us alongside them, sadly. But maybe, just maybe, if they are and were mating then, which there's a strong likelihood they were, there is still a chance that we may catch some of that action because they ordinarily mate for 3 to 5 days. So maybe they'll to Djuma for their final bit of courting. My signal's a bit shaky, so going to send you back to Steve to close off the safari this afternoon.
Thank you, Taylor. We'll see you at breakfast. And we have found another 5-legged elephant. We have found another 5-legged elephant. And isn't he glorious? This is not Daryl. And his breakfast is marulas combined with some wild flowers. We had some very fresh dung and tracks of him just a little while ago. Look, he's just moving his trunk through the long grass there, trying to pick up anything that might be there. And he's now reached the periphery of the marula drop zone, and he's now going to move across to the next one. Maybe he might come and say hello, but in my opinion, he has dropped his penis in a show of submissive behavior towards us as he reaches up with his very powerful trunk to feed on a silver cluster leaf. Isn't that interesting? Yes, there are lots of seeds in there, which he's quite enjoying, and he is taking in that extremely unpalatable leaves of the silver cluster leaf. He's quite relaxed. He's got a nice odour coming off of him. RSF indeed, last minute elephant. We have finally shown you an animal this morning. I think we've had a steenbok and now an elephant. So, well, there we go. He's going to break it down, and he's going to probably put the branch in his mouth and feed on it in a corkscrew-like fashion. So elephants are completely herbivorous. They feed on leaves and twigs and branches and flowers and fruits. If any insects Justin happen to get in his mouth at the same time, I'm sure he's not too picky. And I have no doubt at the rate at which elephants feed, they get all sorts of caterpillar larvae and butterfly eggs and all sorts of things on the branches that they put in. But I don't think that's what they're looking for. It might just be a little bit of added protein. His eyes are very soft. He's not too far from us, but I don't think he wants to cause any trouble, because you would never put out your most prized member in order to have a sword fight. But he is such a poser, is he not? Hello, my boy. He's definitely very aware that we are here, and he is walking past. He is going to go probably find himself some water. And from all of us at Djuma in the Sabi Sands, it has been a wonderful morning. As quiet as it might have been, that is what happens out in the savannah, especially in the summer months. And from Seb, myself, Taylor, JR, and the rest of the crew, including FC, thanks for your questions and comments. We'll see you this afternoon for another safari. Have a fantastic day.